Deborah, behave yourself. I always ask one person. You're it today. And let me get my encoder up. We're good. Okay, Jordan, let's do it.
About 15 seconds.
Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Singer, Sonny, my drums are in the other room. We could have had a duet here. Sonny's going to.
All right, coming up to showtime.
Okay, Sonny, we're ready. Thank you. Let's go.
All right, sending you the feed. Have a great show.
Thank you, Jordan. Dance with me, everybody, please.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to the voice who introduces me. Radio Red in the house. It's Monday. Where else would I be? That's what I'm trying to say. My goodness gracious. It is December 9th. What? We waited all year for this, and here it is. It's the 343rd day of 2024 in the Gregorian calendar because, Michael, we had the Julian calendar, and he missed up most of the middle of October. If you're born on the 3rd and the 14th, you didn't get a birthday in between those dates. So Gregorian came along, and he said, Sonny, Gregorian said, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to give you a leap day every 4th year, and he made the calendar better. So there you go. This is the 50th Monday, in case you're thinking about it, and there are 22 days left to the year. That means if you're planning something special for New Year's Eve, let me look around the table now. Sonny, you look like the kind of guy who might be planning to make some homemade Kahlua. I want you to start tomorrow because there's not much time to get those flavors. Michael, you look like the kind of guy who might be buying something bubbly, really, really elite off of an online store. So the shelves are going to be empty by Saturday. I'm telling you on Monday. Michael, just get to it. And Deborah, I betting you have a grandma or grandpa who had a whiskey still for bootleg whiskey in the back of the house. I want you to go crank up that still and you get started because we're going to need you all to be prepared. Or just get a bottle of Coca-Cola or something like that. So there we go. Sonny, you're on the air, honey, and we can hear you. Okay, so I'm ready to start my show, and I want you all to make the shape of the letter L for me. Everybody look at my hands. We need the letter L. Everybody make the L. And on the count of 3, we got 2 of them here. On the count of 3, you're going to join me in saying hello, L, 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 just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L. Jordan, oh my goodness. They won the prize for the most in-sync LLL of the entire year. I know Michael, my engineer, usually on Monday has been keeping track, and we've had ties for 2nd, 3rd, 4th place. The 3 of you, Sonny and Deborah and Michael, you did it. You absolutely in-synced the LLLs. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener who lives, Sonny, she lives in Whitestone. It starts with a W. I've been trying to get her to relocate to an L place, and I accidentally moved me to Loudon, Tennessee, and she won't come here. So we're going to try and raise a GoFundMe to move her to London or Lexington or somewhere like that. So shout out to LLL. LLL is a dancer I met in dance classes many years ago. We became friends. And at 6:01, used to be 8:01, 6:01 p.m. tonight, I will get an email from lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener, and she will tell me a little bit about what Sonny said on the show. A report, Sonny. And she will tell me what Deborah said on the show. And she will tell me what Michael said. And she'll say, beautiful, gorgeous lady of red, I love your guests. That's what she tells me every Monday. But she's going to do a little report on what you all said, your quotes and all of your interesting things. So I have prepared a poem in which I'm going to introduce you. And today's episode is in honor of all of you, but it's named after one guest who has a thing about keyboards, and he knows who he is. So I want to read my poem, and when I call your name, just wave so everybody knows who you are in case they can't read the little sign with your name on it. Okay, welcome to Read My Lips, where akaRadioRed takes flight. Cool conversations with creatives at her round table of delight. In her Scarlett Mike's live streaming glow, she invites stories bold that relate resilience as their tales unfold. Today's keyboard of creativity plays a vibrant key. With passion and heart, inspirations are set free. Meet 3 savvy creatives whose imaginations soar. Hear how creativity shapes their lives, and more. Sonny Stancarone, wave hello, Sonny, there you are, a maestro at play. With Steinway's grace, his notes sing a new way. His piano yoga method flows, calming life's tides. Wellness through music, where harmony abides. From TV to online, Sonny shares his bright spark. Sonny's creative rhythm illuminates the dark. I hope you like that, Sonny.
That was beautiful. Thank you very
I'm
much.
glad you're welcome. And Deborah Mallow is with us, a ray of pure light, coaching with sunshine to banish the night. Her daily decisions help steer the right course. Positivity's champion, a powerful force. 6 steps she shares for a life less stressed. Deborah's mantra, live joyfully and become your best. There's the sunshine. I hope you enjoyed that. And then we have Michael Swerdloff is with us. Michael's path is one of healing and might. From mobster shadows. Why am I getting an echo here? I'm getting an echo from somebody. Let me start again. Michael's path is one of healing and might. From mobster shadows to Reiki's pure light. Silent retreats and deserts wide, he did roam. His journey through chaos found peace as its home. His book, Raised by Wolves, finds his soul now free. Michael's creativity fuels empathy's plea. I hope you like that, Michael. Oh,
spectacular.
I'm glad. So here's my ending. Join me, Radio Red, a.k.a. as we gather to see the melodies in the keyboard of creativity. Gather round, lend us your eye and your ear as we dive into creativity with vision clear. akaRadio Red's roundtable is set today. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. So what'd you think? All good? All good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Truth told, I have an assistant called Sylvia, and she's a virtual assistant. And some of you may know her as ChatGPT. And I host between 9 and 12 guests a week, and the bios run about 300 words apiece. So I feed her the bios and I say, would you please help me write a poem for each of my guests? And she does. Now, quiz. How long does it take for her to send me the core of just the part for the 3 of you, not the beginning and the ending? How long did it take for Sylvia to send me a draft? Because I edit it afterwards and I take a lot of time to make sure it syncs with your bios and it's the best. But how long do you think it took? If you think it took minutes, put up your hand. How many minutes did it take Sylvia? Anybody think it's minutes? Sonny thinks 2 minutes. Michael, you're not going for minutes. Deborah isn't. Okay. Michael and Deborah, put up your fingers for how many seconds you think it took Sylvia. 4 seconds for Deborah. Michael, where are you?
Seconds, yeah.
7 seconds for Michael. 4 for Deborah. Sonny, what are you changing to?
2 seconds.
2. Sonny's the winner.
Yes.
Sonny's the winner. Sonny's the winner. What can I tell you? It takes just about 2 seconds before she comes back with the draft of the poem. Then I copy it in my notes and I go back and I compare it to your bio. And I say, did she get the key speaking points? Did she get the key, the core of who you are? Because I want these poems to really be special for you. Sometimes I change the rhyme. Sometimes I change the details. Sometimes I go back to her and I say, you didn't do such a good job. And she says, what do you want from me? And I speak in French to her, as Phil's do. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. This is what I got. I'm very glad you enjoyed it. It's my pleasure. So let's go around the table now. Remember, this is 3-minute sound bites. We're getting a feedback on somebody's mic here. I'm getting a gabble, gabble, gabble. Is anybody got their audio on in their room? Jordan, can you help me out here? We're getting some kind of a squabble, like it sounds like a little chicken in the background. I don't know. Anyway, let's go around the table. Sonny, I'm putting you on full screen speaker view, and I would like you to fill in the gaps talk about piano yoga,
3 minutes?
3 minutes, and give us your background bio. Go ahead, Sonny.
Okay. Well, I wrote the book called Sonny's Piano Yoga, the Breathe, Relax, Flow, and Enjoy Mindfulness Method for Playing Piano for Health and Well-Being. How did that come about? Well, it all started, I was born to play the piano. And when I was in my mother's room, my father was just starting to play the piano. He would play Mozart sonatas night after night after night. And even after I got out, I was in the crib, I'd fall asleep every night listening to Mozart sonatas night after night after night. And I think that really affected my creativity because I think that gave me an expansive and very creative view of life. Because now even they have research and they wrote a few books called The Mozart Effect, where they show that if you play Mozart for children, even in the womb, or for adults or for seniors, it increases your sense of creativity, your math scores, your science, and it gives you a sense of well-being. So that's how I got started with the piano. And then I started taking lessons with my father when I was 7, and that carries on. But yoga, how did I get going with yoga? Okay. When I was 5, I came down with a crippling case of childhood asthma. And night after night, I get an asthma attack. It would last 4 or 5 nights for years. Finally, my mother found a woman, Filipino chiropractor. I was brought to her, and she taught me yoga. She taught me breathing and relaxation and stretching exercises and how to get into the flow. And she gave me a 20-minute routine. And I did the routine every night. After 2 months, only 2 months, I was cured of the asthma. And it was like a miracle. After suffering for 4 or 5 years, cured. But so as a result of that, I didn't stop because I knew that those exercises and the breathing, the relaxing, the flowing brought me to life. So I continued doing them. And then practically overnight, I went from a frail asthmatic kid who had trouble walking up a flight of steps to a champion baseball and track runner, practically overnight, and an A student, honor student, where I was a D student before. And it was because I did the yoga routine every night. And then eventually I went out for the track team, was a captain of the track team, MVP, went to Delphi and track scholarship. Always had an interest in yoga. After that, Eastern philosophy, I got out, started teaching yoga. Then I morphed into stress management. Then but all throughout my life, my programs are called the Breathe, Relax, and Flow Yoga Method, the Breathe, Relax, Flow Stress Management, the Breathe, Relax, Flow Sports Performance Clinic, Breathe, Relax, Flow, and Enjoy Children's Fitness Program. So thus, I eventually morphed into playing the piano, and not just playing professionally, but I morphed into opening a piano school, piano store, and teaching the Breathe, Relax, Flow, and Enjoy method. So all my life, I've been teaching this method, helping a lot of people, athletes, children, corporate employees, professional athletes. And eventually, I developed a program for playing the piano, which is called the Breathe, Relax, Flow, and Enjoy Mindfulness Piano. So that's why the 2 most influential things, the 3 most, was of course my family, and of course then yoga and the piano, just ended up, me telling that story in the book. And then also, in the book, I didn't just come up with a new way of playing the piano, but I also showed how the piano playing is very similar to meditation, very similar to mindfulness. In fact, my whole approach is based on being mindful and being in the moment and not thinking. And part of my philosophy is there are no mistakes. Don't play perfectly. Because you said you studied when you were a kid too. So so I am the antithesis of the traditional way to play the piano. I talk about the bliss. Playing the piano is all about getting in touch with the bliss and not thinking and not judging, but just enjoying yourself and being happy. That's
Sonny,
why I do
thank
that.
you. You have created quite a life for yourself. Who would have thought your family, you at age 5, 6, 7, when you were with this crippling asthma, that you would be able to, quote unquote, do anything? And look at how far you've come. We're not talking about years or decades or ages. We're talking about climbing out of it. I think we have similar stories from my other guests today. Interesting. And when I go to the publicity summit where I met you and Deborah and I met Michael's PR agent, I say everybody is creative. It's not, do you sing, do you play the violin, do you paint, do you dance? We're creating our life. I was shy as a kid. For me to be on a microphone on Zoom talking to people all over the world, are you kidding? Never in a million years. So yeah. So my point is that's what creativity is, and that's what I love to share on the show as we talk about who we are and what we do. Sonny, last word, because I have to go to Deborah. Go ahead, dear.
One of my biggest influences was a woman jazz icon, Connie Crothers. And she taught me how to play spontaneously and improvise. Connie used to say that creativity is a biological function that we all have, a biological function that we need to express feelings through creativity.
I like that. Thank you very much. I'll add her to my quote list. Thank you, Sonny. Deborah Mallow, welcome. I met you. You are sunshine. You want to put the little something on your head there?
We need to.
It's been
I wanna-
raining here all day in Tennessee where I am. I love that. Deborah, I'm putting you on speaker view. Take your 3 minutes and fill us up with who you are, what you do, and what are you doing here. Welcome.
Well, I am now wearing my sun crown. If anybody wondered what this is on my head. So I am Deborah Mallow. I am a positive energy coach who doesn't need that. Creator of the Daily Decisions, which through our Positive Energy Club, it's self-improvement essentials to reinforce positive habits, get rid of the negative. And I am author of 6 Steps to Fewer Days That Suck, that will be available in a week or so. So if anybody's interested. Now, my journey is a little different because it wasn't a straight shot. I actually started with going to Syracuse University and studying. They have 9 colleges within the one university. So I studied at Krause College, and I studied textile design and art and illustration. And I did that for many years. My husband and I had our own design and licensing business, and we licensed to many companies in the home furnishings and gifts industry. And it was quite exciting. And that was really before like everything was done on the computer. So I learned to paint by hand, and I still love to do that. But now I do it for my joy, because what I did, we had a son, and I took a little time off, and then I said, I'm not going to go back to the arts. I'm going to do something else. I talked my way into a pharmaceutical job in the biotech industry, if you could believe it, going from biotech. But it was great because I learned that what I love to do is to help other people. And here I was able to talk about a product, but help the doctor actually, then they help their patient. And that fulfilled something within me. I also, because I am an achiever, that's one of my strengths, I worked my way from artist to biotech rep to #1 year over year with nationally, not just in my territory, but across all the reps. I did that for quite a few years, and something was missing. And because Manhattan is my territory, I live in Manhattan, I grew up in Manhattan, it has a lot of positive energy, museums, all that creativity going on. I just felt something was missing. One day on a New York City subway platform, tears were running down my eyes. I just said, I have to change. I was trapped in trying to be the best, the negativity that came from that, the exhaustion from pushing myself. I was totally burnt out. I was just overwhelmed. And I said, I have to change. And that's how 6 Steps to Fewer Days That Suck was born, because I started to write as my guidebook, making a commitment, asking questions of myself. I would then find solutions, things that work, and do action items, tips, have mantras. I would read little stories about people who overcame struggles. And a number of people who read this, was that me? Said that my struggles and my remedies to overcome these struggles could help other people. And that's how my book was born. And now what I do is I coach, I help people become, I don't want to say their best selves. It's not about forcing positivity. It's about approaching life differently, changing your mindset, not going down the rabbit hole, having the tools to just stop yourself and be able to rid yourself of the circular thinking, of the worry, of the fears, of all the things that we worry about that just never really happen. And we just it zaps our energy. And so that's where I am now. I'm doing what I love, helping other people, inspiring positivity, because a lot of people, especially these days, they feel trapped, stuck in jobs that they don't like. And that's really a crime because really you want to be able to fulfill your destiny, to reach your maximum potential, to be curious, to strive for your best life, because life should not be torture. It should be enjoyable.
It should be enjoyable, and that's what you obviously are doing right here. Thank you very much.
I want to make sure to help people find their sunshine.
Well, Deborah, I love the sunshine, and I love the title of your book, 6 Steps to Help. What is this? For fewer days that suck. I've never heard of a title like Sonny's going to make a theme song for your. I can see he's thinking, what notes would I put in there? Yes, I know that. Thank you very much, Deborah. I'm going to move on to Michael. We want to hear your story. Michael, I did not meet you at the summit. I met Terry Cater, a lovely woman who was pitching you to me. And she said, have I got an author for you? So here you are. That's the New York accent coming through. I don't let it out very often. Sorry, Sonny. Okay, Michael, I'm putting you on full screen speaker view. Would you please introduce yourself and welcome, Michael?
Thank you. Glad to be here. So for me, creativity started as a survival mechanism. I grew up in a really challenging home. There was a lot of violence, a lot of hate, a lot of aggression, and a lot of dishonesty. My father cheated on my mother with dozens of women during the whole time they were married, and my brother was what we would call a sociopath today. He became a strong arm in the mob, and I was his practice dummy as a kid. And it really was, survival was creativity for me. It was knowing who to partner with, knowing where to hide, knowing where to get away from, and to just survive. And I became a low-level mob guy in my 20s, and I ran cons and counterfeits and fraud and was a drug dealer. And I ended up in a locked mental hospital against my will in September 11th, not that September 11th, September 11th, 1989. And what I found for me was when I got clean and sober, I knew there was something else besides what I was doing. And for me, it started with meditation. And I couldn't find books. I mean, I'm from Newark, New Jersey. I lived in the suburbs. I couldn't find books on meditation, even in the city. There wasn't, people think about you could get everything now. You couldn't get everything then. And I found 3 books on meditation in New Hope, Pennsylvania. I took them home, and between those 3 books, I just did what they told me. And I had no idea if it was what I was supposed to be doing, if it was good, it was bad, if I was going to end up an axe murderer. I had no way of knowing, but I did it. And as crazy as it sounds, I've gone 30-something years without missing a day of meditation. And somewhere along the way, I met this extraordinary woman, and she was a Reiki master, and she taught me and trained me in Reiki. And for reasons I know nothing about, now again, we're talking about a drug addict, alcoholic mob guy that just starts meditation, does it every day, gets trained in Reiki, does it every day. And I've done it, practiced Reiki every day since. So for me, where this all started to shift was I started to have a purpose. And it wasn't obvious at first, but what it was for me was to take all of these skills that I had that made me a great con man and rearrange them, that instead of me getting the benefit, the skills of listening, the skills of paying attention, of knowing what people's fears are, what their strengths, what their pressure points are. And I became an alternative counselor and social worker, in-home family preservation worker, working with families in crisis. And I just did what I was doing for my benefit, for other people's benefit. It's not like I created something new. It was all the exact same skill sets. Somewhere along the way, conscious dance entered my life, and ecstatic dance entered my life. Oh, I left out an important part here that circles back in, is in 1980, I became a DJ, and that's going to circle back into something else along the way. And it's very possible, since all 3 of you were in New York at the time, it's very possible that some of the clubs I used to play at that you were at. But anyway, so the last 15, 20 years have been me creating all of those things and turning it into something that made sense for me. Have a private practice doing counseling, coaching, and Reiki. I lead men's groups. I lead spiritual development groups. I work with a conscious dance community. I'm the program manager for a conscious dance community. And I like to write. Like, in case you haven't figured out, like, I like to talk. I like to write as well. So I wrote this book, Raised by Wolves, Possibly Monsters, from mobster to Reiki master. I wrote the whole thing doing it voice to text. I didn't type one word, literally not one word. And I did the whole thing without editing it once, just talking and talking and talking for 6 months. I wanted to tell the story of what it was like to grow up in my home, what changed, and more importantly, how did I treat girls and women then, and what is my relationship with girls and women today? And as my editor came up with, it's healthy masculinity from the inside out. So wrote this book, and I'm getting to talk a lot about this healthy masculinity and how to change violence and how to change hate of myself, hate of others, and turn not so beautiful things into very beautiful things. So the other thing is I do ecstatic dance and conscious dance events, and that's really where my creativity comes about. I'm going to jump back into that in our next round.
Just tell me, I need a quick definition. What is ecstatic conscious dancing? Because I'm a former dance teacher. I need to know. What is that, Michael?
So what if you can think of is 150 people on the dance floor, some of them doing yoga, some of them rolling on top of each other, some jumping up and down, some doing something that looks like standing, moving yoga. And the DJ or host changes the rhythms and the beats and the tempos and the textures, and everybody in the room changes to that. So there's a collective chaos that's all one thing.
It sounds like a drum circle almost, except you're supposed to follow the beat, or it almost sounds like an improv class where, never mind, I took improv and
throw the two of them together and you land at it.
Thank you. Sonny, you want to say anything about how Michael is using yoga in his conscious dance? I saw you looking like, what do you think? Oh, Sonny, unmute, honey. I muted you because your mic was picking up some scratching noises. Just hit unmute on the bottom. There you go. Go ahead, Sonny.
Well, he's doing meditation for 30 years, so that is a very positive thing. And that meditation is a form of jhana yoga. So, of course, he's going to be coming up with creative ideas like that. But it's funny, I saw on TikTok the other day a Kundalini class where this woman was just inspiring this other woman to do the Kundalini thing. And she was just laying on the ground, just shaking around like that, doing stuff. So, yeah, controlled chaos. You know, it's when you meditate, very creative ideas can come flowing out of you. And that's what I find with the piano is when you sit down at the piano, it's a form of meditation. So like, let's say you're trying to figure out a problem, you sit down at the piano, you breathe, relax, just play a little bit. That answer to that problem is going to come through you. And also it's a form of emptying your mind. So thus I call it piano yoga. But
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love the way the stories are not the same exactly, but we've all created life for ourselves from places where we didn't know what we wanted necessarily. Hey, who's got the answers? I'd say I didn't come out of mom as much as I love my mom and dad. I didn't pop out with a manual of what I was going to do in my life. You figure it out along the way.
Oh, yeah.
So, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're not. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. And sometimes the seeds, right, Michael? The seeds of an early life create the kernels that grow into something magnificent and positive later on. And Sonny, your asthma, and Deborah, #1 in the world, but she didn't like her life. My goodness gracious. So look at, anyway, I'm getting philosophical here. Let's move on. You've all graciously sent me a quote from a fictional character in a movie or a TV show or a song lyric. I think we have a little bit of everything here. I'm going to ask you to relate the quote to your own creativity in about 2 minutes because we have so much to cover. Your bios were wonderful. So Sonny Stancarone has picked a quote from Mr. Miyagi, played by Pat Morita. The movie, of course, is The Karate Kid, 1984. There, Michael is acting it out for you, Sonny. Michael is acting it out. The 1984 martial arts drama film, while teaching Daniel LaRusso, played by Ralph Macchio, Basic karate movements. Mr. Miyagi has him practice waxing a car, emphasizing, here's the word, Michael, from Sonny's quote, controlled breathing while performing repetitive motions. And here's the quote Sonny has picked: wax on, wax off. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Wax on, wax off. Don't forget to breathe. Very important. I didn't do a good Miyagi. I'm sorry. Sonny, 2 minutes. I'm putting you on speaker view so everybody can see you. Talk to me. How'd you find this one? And what does it have to do with you? Go ahead.
Well, that's the principle of my piano yoga, is to breathe and to flow. Wax on, wax off, but relax, breathe, flow, and enjoy. I was always a fan of martial arts, particularly Bruce Lee, who was always referring to breathing. He was once asked, when about to enter into a fight, what do you do? What do you visualize? And he just said, breathe, be in the moment, and you will know what to do when the time comes. So I feel that what Mr. Miyagi was a very Zen approach to martial arts. Breathe, relax, flow, be in the here and now. And that's what my piano yoga is about. Breathe, relax, flow, don't think, enjoy. Focus on the breathing. Focus on the breathing. It's interesting thought. I was with one of my students one time, and she's holding her breath. And people have a tendency of holding their breath when they play the piano and just tightening up. So I said to her, breathe. And she said to me, I can't breathe and play the piano at the same time. I can't breathe and think at the same time. And I went, yeah, I can't breathe and think at the same time. Breathe. Yeah, and don't think, and just be in the moment and let the music come streaming out of you. Let the music come streaming out of you, which it will do when you just breathe, relax, flow. Yes, I love that quote. I love that movie.
Thank you very much. And I had some text chats with Sonny when we were after I met him at the summit, and I told him that my mom Ruth played piano from the time she was 10 years old. She had a couple lessons. She played the rest of her life by ear. So Michael or Deborah, if you had hummed a few bars of anything, a show tune, a rock and roll tune, Ruth would sit down and fill the room. I still have her crack our baby grand piano. I have hauled it around the country with me. It's not cheap putting it in a truck and getting it set up and all that, but it's a gorgeous piano, and I took classical lessons for years. But Ruth would just fill the room with music, and Michael, her neighbors used to complain. You know why? She didn't play the piano often enough.
Wow.
Yeah, Michael got it. They knock on the door and say, Ruth, play more. We want to hear more. And her boyfriend, Max, years after my dad died, her boyfriend, Max, had a harmonica, and he would stand by the piano and play the harmonica. And then she would sing. Well, it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. So yes, thank you very much, Sonny. Deborah, I'm going to your quote. This is from Beautiful Boy, a song by John Lennon. The quote was coined by somebody else first, but Beautiful Boy, Darling Boy. Written and performed by John Lennon, released on the 1980 album Double Fantasy, the last album by Lennon and Oko before he was killed. It was the B-side of Happy Xmas, Christmas, War is Over, to promote the John Lennon collection in 1982. The song was dedicated to Sean, Lennon's child, his only child with Yoko Ono. It begins with John comforting Sean from presumably a nightmare and passionately describes the love for his son and the joy he gave him. Here is the quote: "Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans." Deborah, 2 minutes. Go ahead.
So this resonates with me for two reasons. One, I live in Manhattan, so in Central Park, there's that big tribute right near where John Lennon lived in the Dakota building, a very famous historic building and very expensive. And so there's always somebody playing the Beatles songs there. And my husband and I, friends, we sit there. The other thing is, I believe that things happen for reasons, that things are planned. The universe aligns. Sometimes when you try too hard, you push too hard, it doesn't work. So life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. The things that we really manifest, the things that we really want, that we put effort into, they do happen. And that's what that means to me, that the things that we really want do come to us. And we're busy thinking about other things, but the things that we really need, the things that will fulfill us, if we allow them to, we're open to it, they will happen.
Thank you. That's lovely. You're still conveying an awful lot of sunshine there, Deborah. I think the temperature is going to go up. Would you believe I'm in the South and it was 19 degrees the other night? 19 degrees. Today, I know, Michael, I think we got up to about 51 today. It's balmy and springtime here. Amazing. Tennessee is certainly not the deep, warm, hot South. There you go. So thank you, Deborah. I'm bringing the sunshine from you to me. All right, Michael has picked, it's John Lennon Day on Read My Lips. Here we go. Now, I want my viewers, my listeners to know that my guests don't talk to each other before the show. Okay, you pick this one from John Lennon, I'll pick that one, and I'll get a quote from Mr. Miyagi. No, this is all done independently. So once in a while we end up with quotes from the same person, but this is beautiful. So Michael has picked a quote from Imagine. The song was a controversial song by John Lennon, 1971. It was an album also called Imagine. It was the best-selling single of his solo career. Lyrics to encourage the world to imagine a world of peace without materialism, without borders separating nations, oh my, and without religion. That was the controversy. Before his death, Lennon said, and I know the word is said and not admitted, Michael, that much of the lyrics and content came from Yoko Ono. And in 2017, how many years is that? 17 plus 29 years. That many decades later, he finally gave her co-writing credit. I will not say a word to that. The recording started in his home studio in England. They did the overdubs in New York City. In October, the U.S. single Imagine peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 6 in the U.K., and it later topped the chart after his murder in 1980. 200 artists have covered the song. Madonna, Stevie Wonder, Joan Baez, Lady Gaga, Elton John, Diana Ross. And after it was featured in the 2012 Summer Olympics, the song re-entered the UK Top 40 and the hit number 18, and it was the opening song at the 2022 Winter Olympics. Here's the quote Michael has selected. I want to cry here. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Michael, you shouldn't make the host cry. It's not very polite. Okay, Michael, go ahead. Go ahead. It's beautiful. Michael, 2 minutes. Tell us what that has to do with your creativity, please.
Oh my gosh, it feels like everything I do is part of that dream. It just, like, I could go on for 45 minutes, but just everything I do is about this illusion that you and me are different, that the people that live there are, and the people that live there, the people that speak this language are different than the people in this religion and no religion and every religion, that we're different, and we're not. We have differences, but we're not. And for me, the dream of John, the dream of Martin, the dream of all of them have always been that we find a way to connect. And peace is one of the ways. And I do that through music. I do that through counseling. I do that through groups, blah, 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 blah. But more than anything, it's carrying peace. It's being peace. You know, as Thich Nhat Hanh talked about being peace. And I asked you for permission earlier if I could go off on a little tangent here, because it's interesting that both Deborah and I picked John because today is 44 years since he was murdered. He was murdered this night. It was a Monday night. I was DJing at a club, and I remember one of the bouncers came in, and I was putting a record on the turntable, and he came in, he said, "Somebody just came in, Michael, and heard on the radio that John Lennon was shot." And the record dropped. I fell to the floor. He had to help me up because of everything I was going through in my life at that time. My aunt, who was my caretaker, died earlier that year, and John Lennon died, and I fell to the floor. I don't have a reason to live because peace was now gone. So 8 years later, I got sober, as I mentioned, and my goal has been since then and all along is that nobody falls on the floor and say hope is gone. Peace matters. Done.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm just going to give it a second here. Yeah, we lost a brilliant songwriter, composer when we lost John Lennon. That's sadly happens to too many brilliant people. I will tell you that on my show sometimes here, we talk about definitions of creativity, and a few of you have already mentioned some of the words. I think Sonny used the word curious. I've heard people say courageous creativity, curious creativity, all kinds of. Every week I have to come up with another word for Read My Lips, the something of creativity. And Sonny, that's why I picked keyboard, because your story basically stood out for me, but it could have been anything. Deborah, it could have been the sunshine of creativity, could have been yours. Michael, it could have been the peace of creativity. I could have picked something from any of you, but creativity to me, as I explained at the Publicity Summit, as I said, it's not just can you sing, can you dance, and can you draw a picture. It's how do we create our lives, and look at the stories we've already had from all three of you and a little bit from me too. I'm an early woman in tech. I didn't know that until I was asked to be the kickoff speaker, Michael, in 2023 for the Women in Big Data organization, who said, we heard you were a programmer back in the, won't tell you how many years ago. Would you come and talk to us? I showed them pictures of a mainframe computer, of a key punch machine, of green bar paper, of my COBOL code from 19, and they said, who is this crazy woman and what is she showing us? They had no idea what I was. That's when I discovered what is an early woman in tech doing sitting here on Zoom on a microphone, look at this background. I designed this in Night Cafe Studio and I added the lips and the text in Photoshop. I'm a geek. I love it. And I'm talking to all of you about creativity. So we have just continued, right, Deborah? Right, Sonny? Right, Michael? We're continuing to create our lives. Isn't it a beautiful thing? We're getting a squawk on somebody's microphone. I think it's yours, Sonny, but we're okay. Sonny, I'm going to read one creativity statement from each of you. We're going to keep this really, really tight, and I'd like you to just tell us a little more about it. So, Sonny, I'm reading statement number 2. You don't need to find it. I will read it for you. You say, creativity is being in the moment, doing something spontaneously. You've already said that. Now, Sonny says, I started playing professionally first in a rock band in high school, then as a solo performer when I was 29 in clubs, restaurants, wedding halls, house parties, and small performances that turned into a 25-year career. I'm an improviser, the gamut of improvising in classical, rock, show tunes, the American Songbook, original and freestyle jazz improv. Sonny, just fill us in a little bit. This is absolutely fascinating. And by the way, did you know Irvin Drake? You ever heard of Irvin Drake?
Yeah.
You've heard of When I Was 17, It Was a Very Good.
Yeah.
He wrote the lyrics that became one of Frank Sinatra's. He wrote Good Morning Heartache, Billie Holiday, Diana Ross. Irvin Drake was a neighbor of mine in Great Neck, and he was part of the Great American Songbook. He was the president of ASCAP, I think, years ago. He's long gone. Sonny, tell me what this means to you, this statement. Go ahead.
I always wanted to do it my way. I told a story earlier today. I tried out for a wedding band early on, and after my first gig with them, the leader of the band comes over and goes, listen, you ought to play as a solo. You don't want to play in a band. And I said, why? He goes, because you want to do it your way. And so I just, every time I turned around, another way was manifesting through me. That's what I think creativity is. If you quiet your mind, it manifests through you. And so playing from the here and now, it means that I just sit down and I don't know what's going to happen. I never plan it. And but what leads me into these zones, this creative zone, is I might start off with a classical theme for a release, Moonlight Sonata. And then once I get going with that, boom, the new, more improvisational music comes through me. So that's what I mean by playing from the here and now. I could play a Sinatra. I could play, it was a very good year. I could play a rock tune, a jazz tune. And I just play a little bit of it. And then I just go off. In fact, I lost a joke. You talk about they came to your house to ask you to play, your mother to play more. Mm-hmm. I played a few gigs where I got let go because they said, you never play the song the same way. And I was like, and you keep changing the rhythm. And I was like, this is a jazz club? Are you supposed to improvise? And they were like, doesn't matter. In fact, I was in a club in the city across the street from Lincoln Hall and Ed Sullivan Theater. I was playing there for a long time. And then one night I come in and the owner comes over and goes, this will be your last night. I go, why? He goes, you keep changing the rhythm. And I go, okay. So now I knew this was my last set. So I sat down and I cut loose. I just let it go. I was playing atonally. I was playing classical, pop, rock, all mixing it all up, running here and there. After I stopped, I got a standing ovation. The whole room stood up and applauded me. And these were just the average people. These were well-heeled people. Of course, they came in from Lincoln Center. They came from Ed Sullivan Theater. So on the way out, I go to him. I go, you still want me to leave? He goes, yeah. I go, didn't you see I just got a standing ovation? I was working there for 2 years. Nobody got a standing ovation. I said, I just got a standing ovation. And he goes, doesn't matter. He goes, you keep changing the rhythm of the song.
I love it. I love it, Sonny. These are the kind of stories we look for on the show. That's why I have you all send me your creativity statements. By the way, to Sonny and Michael and Deborah, I tried to learn when I was doing disco at a nightclub in Eugene, Oregon. I asked the DJ to train me to be a DJ. And he had 4 color codes, Michael. He had red, blue, green, and orange. And when they weren't drinking enough, and he made the music faster and faster and faster to send the dancers to the bar so they would drink more. And I learned I'll tell you the year after we're offline, but I never did become a DJ. I also studied bartending, but I couldn't figure out how to mix the drink and use the cash register at the same time. It just wasn't meant to be. Sonny, thank you, dear. I have to move on. Deborah, I'm looking at your statement number 3. You say creativity doesn't mean we're striving to be Da Vinci. It's a creative approach to life and ditching all the things that get in the way. Think outside the box, color outside the lines. And you say you teach the daily decisions in your positive energy club, and you laid it out in your book. Tell us a little bit about how did you ditch the standard? How did you walk away from that? And how did you come up with the name Daily Decisions? Deborah, 2 minutes, go. We're really short on time. Go ahead, dear.
Yes. So to start with the daily decisions, because it's really up to us to make the decision to get rid of the negative, to focus on the positive, to enjoy our lives, to make every day count. And the great thing about being a human being is we can't control other people, but we can control our thoughts, our emotions, our actions. And it's very important to actually know that. And then what I talk about, coloring outside the lines, thinking outside the box, not always paying attention to the rules, because rules are meant to be broken. And honestly, I am a rule follower. I'm very respectful that way, but also I try to think of things in different ways, find that happiness, to find that joy, not to be able to zig and zag, because in life, we really need to be flexible, to be able to maneuver when the tough times come, because let's face it, every day isn't peachy, and some days might feel like the pits, but it's to us to find that resilience, to be able to understand what's happening, and then to push through the obstruction, to create our transformation, to make our lives the best they can be. Because when we are good with ourselves, when we feel good, we do better, and that's when we can be the best for everybody else, to lift everyone up.
I like that.
Outside the line.
I like that. I went to a doctor's appointment the other day. Michael, I've got one picked out for you in a second. And I went with my flower on. I have this gorgeous hot pink shawl. It was very cold. It was like 35 degrees. And it has great big pom-poms on it. It was my mom's. It was beautiful. Wool, hot pink. And I have my little red disco, my drummer boots on. And I got out of the car, drive a nice black convertible. And I got out of the car, and some woman was coming out of the doctor's office. And she looked at me and she said, I love your pink shawl. I love your red boots. Look at that hair. And I love your purse. And we started talking. And I realized I was supposed to be there being me and not somebody else, because I don't know what her diagnosis was, or she didn't look like she was so upset. But the point was, she noticed me. I went inside, and the woman who took my blood pressure, who did it wrong, and I made her do it again because it was too low, and I know what it should be. I know, Michael. Anyway, I've done it enough. Anyway, she said to me, I love your purse. I love your shoes. I love your boots. I love your shawl. And I said, I was supposed to go to the doctor's office that day to make a bunch of people happy. I can't think of it. There really wasn't much of a checkup. It was a new nurse practitioner, an NP. I thought he was a PA because the doctor wasn't available, just to check in on something that was going on, and I'm fine. But it was interesting, and then I went to some place to drop off a package for FedEx, and the woman said, "Oh, I love your boots. Oh, I love your shawl. Oh, I love your flower." And I said, "That's Deborah. My mission that day was just to be seen in a beige." In a beige, black and white world. Anyway, so, Michael, here's your statement. And this is statement number 2. Listen, everybody. I find creative projects are the quickest method of becoming present and alive that does not require another human being to participate. This expresses itself in my daily movement and dance practice in my living room across the street from a riverhead. 2 minutes, Michael. We got to hear this. Go ahead.
So every day I do yoga, meditation, and Reiki. And then after I'm done with that, I move in my living room. And sometimes there's music and sometimes there's not. Sometimes I'm banging off walls. Sometimes I'm rolling on the floor. Sometimes if you walked by and you could fly like a bird and see on the second floor coming through my window, you would think I was some kind of a bird floating around. And I just move. It doesn't matter what else is happening. And sometimes the movements are slow as this. Sometimes they're fast. And it's the listening without listening. It's the following without following. It's the non-thinking that Sonny was talking about. And it's being present. It's feeling my body. It's feeling my breath. It's feeling the floor. It's feeling movement. It's being alive. And I know I am both human and more than human in those moments.
Those kinds of thoughts make us all human, right, Sonny? Right, Deborah? I think that's what we're all talking about today. I don't pick my guests because they're going to have similar topics or similar lives. It's a potpourri. Let's get everybody together. Okay, here's the date. Deborah, are you free? Sonny, are you free? Yes, yes. Michael, okay. Terry said you're free. I just put people together. And the threads that just appear in our creativity, on our humanity, always. Michael, go ahead.
Just have to confess, when I was thinking of a quote, I did think of wax on, wax off. It's very possible we would have had two of that versus two of that. It would have been one or the other, but I was following one of you.
I would have said something. I have 4 minutes and I want to close the show, and don't go away. Sonny, you're going to play a little something just before. I'm not sure your mic's going to pick it up. But listen, today is on December 9th, 1953. Frank Sinatra recorded Young at Heart. Interesting. Today in 1955, Elvis performed at a club in Swifton, Arkansas, and introduced his new song, Heartbreak Hotel. And you know what he said? It's going to be my first hit. 1955. How about that? Today in 63, the Beach Boys released Little Saint Nick. Okay, we know that one. In 1965, A Charlie Brown Christmas debuted in place of the Munsters on CBS TV. The famous score, which became synonymous with Peanuts, was written by, I don't know if you knew this, Sonny, jazz musician Vince Guaraldi and his trio. Yes, I think we do know that. In 1978, Chic's Le Freak hit #1, and one more. Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire hit #1 this day in 1989. And one more. You're going to love this. 2023, last year, thanks to a new music video. I'm getting feedback on somebody's mic. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. Back originally from 1958. I don't know how many of you were alive. Sonny, me, and maybe. Goes to #1. Brenda Lee, at 78 years old last year, was the oldest artist ever to top the U.S. charts. And it took 65 years for her song, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, to make #1. Today, Judi Dench is 90. Happy birthday! Donny Osmond is 67. What? John Malkovich is 71. Lori Greiner from Shark Tank is 55. And Simon Helberg from The Big Bang Studio. And he was in the movie Florence Foster Jenkins, I think, with Meryl Streep. He's 44 today. Margaret Hamilton, who played Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz in 39. She was born today in 1902. And Kirk Douglas, you all know who he is. He was a successful competitive wrestler in college and went in the U.S. Navy during World War II. I didn't know that. Quick, birthdays, people you've never heard of on YouTube. Crazy Ray Ray is 27 years old. Sonny, why am I telling you that? Because he has 10 million views and 3.5 million subscribers. TikTok, Michael, this is for you. Caleb Finn, 30 years old. He only has 15 million fans. He does creatively edited lip syncs and close-up shots of himself. And he dyed his hair half blonde. And this is for you, Deborah. Instagram, Tristan Jass, Jass, only poor kid, only has 2.4 million video views. He was a basketball point guard. Today is Techno Music Day, International Day of Veterinary Medicine, National Pastry Day, and it's National Cat Lovers Month. It's Tie Month. I don't see a tie on anybody. Write a Business Plan Month and Volunteer Month and Banana Pudding. In 2014, I closed the show, and don't go away when we're done. In 1 minute. I closed the show with the following top 10 tips for women. Aspire to be Barbie Barbie, the biatch has everything. Okay, here's my real closing. You ready? Life is short. Break the rules. Yes. Forgive quickly. Nah. Kiss slowly. Yes. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Laugh with me, everybody. Not bad. You could do better. And never regret anything that made you smile. Here we go. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco in high heels on a 4-mic tabletop in a cafeteria at a school in Eugene, Oregon, everybody watched. I never fell, but what legs. Sing like nobody's listening and love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart grow and regenerate, right, Michael? Money talks, chocolate sings, la! And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody. Thank you for turning me on. Sonny, play. Go ahead. We'll leave the live stream on. We can't hear it, Sonny. Oh, I wish we... Okay. Thank you, Sonny. We gotta go. Everybody wave. Don't go away, guests. Don't go away. Everybody wave goodbye. Applause for Sonny. Jordan, are we out?
All clear. Great show.
Thank you very much. I'm